Hi, good afternoon, everyone. You're watching a live broadcast with me, Priti, Raichura, on this beautiful Sunday afternoon. I hope you're having a lovely day. I was certainly having a lovely day earlier on when I went for my Sunday morning walk. Today is all about relationships and coaching, and you may have seen through our posters, we have the wonderful Pradip Panchmatia joining us here today, who is a life coach. A very warm welcome to you, Pradip. How are you doing?
Hi, thank you. Glad to be here. I'm doing okay, thanks. How are you?
I'm very, very well, thank you. Thank you for joining me here live on Facebook and YouTube and all the other social media platforms. Um, coaching is for me, coaching is a very broad word. And I know that at the moment, because of, people having been through several lockdowns, the uncertainty that people are going through, whether it's in their professional life, personal life, or whether it's in their relationship. Because as you know, I'm a wedding planner, and I've got quite a lot of couples even coming to me quite nervous
Mm.
about their next steps. So that's kind of like what we're going to be talking about today. But before we start, tell us a little bit more about yourself, Pradip.
Okay, so I've been coaching for about 18 years now, and then 10 years ago, I also became a master practitioner in NLP, neuro linguistic programming, and hypnotherapist. And I use a variety of sort of NLP skills, hypnotherapy, and a variety of other things to use in my toolbox to coach clients and help clients get the best out of what they want to achieve.
Mm. When you say hypnotherapy, That that's really intriguing. Tell me more about what that is, because when you see it on television, and lots of people are probably intrigued by it.
Yeah.
You see people doing all kinds of silly things sometimes, where the hypnotherapist sometimes makes them jump around or do things that they ordinarily wouldn't do.
So
What is
that
hypnotherapy?
gives hypnotherapy quite a bad name, actually. So that's hypnosis. That's not hypnotherapy.
Right.
Therapy
Okay.
being the ultimate word. Um, so that's for show. That's kind of programming somebody's mind, those sort of things. Whereas hypnotherapy, my client is always conscious. They're always present. But what it is, it's about quietening the conscious mind, because the mind is always full of chatter, right? You know,
Mhm.
there's always an internal dialogue going on. It's about quietening the conscious mind and then talking to the subconscious or unconscious mind, and sort of putting those suggestions in there to help people achieve their goals. So it's used for lots of things, from pain management to smoking to a variety of things in terms of achieving goals.
Okay, so today will be really useful for some of the people that have actually dropped me messages in terms of their kind of, personal life, those that are struggling, to take the next move in their life. So, but we'll come on to that. But what is actually life coaching? What exactly is it?
Okay, so coaching looks at where someone is right now. It can help with so many different things. So if somebody is not quite sure what they want to do, or they haven't discovered their life purpose, or they're not feeling fulfilled in life, in relationships, in their career aspirations, or they've got certain health issues that they just can't get on top of, it can be on a wide variety of topics and subjects. Um, so it's about looking at helping the client explore where they are now, and identify ideally where is it they want to go, what do they want to achieve, and look at all the steps and build the steps to get to where they want to be. So as I said,
How would you determine that?
okay, so I mean, there's a difference between coaching and counseling and psychotherapy and all those sort of things. Whereas, psychotherapy, coaching, and counseling looks at issues in the past and helps people make sense of their world and live their day-to-day life. It sort of analyzes the past and looks back quite a lot. Um, and at the problems to help people manage those problems. Whereas
Mm.
coaching helps you to set goals, helps you to achieve goals, helps you to take positive actions. It's more about taking actions to achieve those goals, identifying what those actions are, staying in the present moment, and also looking to the future, to the outcomes that you actually want. And a life coach actually holds that person to account, because
Oh, okay.
the number of times where somebody wants to achieve something but they don't do it, or if they've got, for example, a career goal, but they don't look for that job or apply for that job, whereas in a coaching session you will set strategies, you will identify what it is that you want, and identify the steps to get there, and the coach will hold you to account. So almost like, a football coach will spur you on, encourage you, and kick your backside if you're not performing. A life coach will also kick your backside if you're not performing, but in the nicest, positive, most empowering way possible.
So what does that actually mean? So what would you do? You'd have a one-to-one with individuals to set their goals. What does it actually mean?
Yeah, I mean, there's a variety of ways of doing it. There's one-to-one sessions in person, or with COVID, a lot of the sessions are online. Sessions have been over the phone. I've had clients internationally across the Atlantic. I've got a lot of clients in America, um,
Mhm.
and do things online via Skype or Zoom or those sort of things. There's group coaching sessions which people can participate in, and a bit of online as well in between sessions, so they have access to the life coach, who will ask them if they've achieved that goal or taken the next step or those sort of things. So they'll have access via email coaching as well as in person. Um, but yeah, so that's pretty much what coaching looks like. It can be a number of sessions. People can have a one-off 1 hour or 90-minute session. People can have a number of sessions, a 6-month program, or let's say if they want uh, to focus on particular goals, then 6 weeks program, 12 weeks program, or 6 months, as I said, that kind of stuff as well.
So, for example, I mean, we've had quite a lot of people that have sent in some questions beforehand. So I'm going to ask you these questions, but I also kind of want you to back it up with examples, just so that people get more of an idea of what coaching actually means. Now, I have a question here from someone who dropped me an email, and like I said, I'm not going to mention any names, but they say, if you have been cheated on several times in a relationship, how can you build trust and move on in your life? Is this something coaching would help with, or is this something that a counselor would help with?
Both. A counselor can help deal with the trauma of that betrayal, for example, but coaching can help that person build their confidence, and look at, okay, they probably want to talk about why they've been cheated on and how it's made them feel and those sort of things, but that can be a very negative feeling and a very negative mindset. So it's about, actually, this has happened to you, this has been your experience, what have you learned from that experience, and what is it that you ideally want in the future? Now, that's for someone like that, it would be a loving, trusting, honest, open relationship. So,
Yeah.
of course, coaching can help people, empower people to find a partner that will bring them that, or coach couples together to build an empowering relationship.
So would you, as part of that journey then, would you start to identify maybe why that individual has been cheated? Could it be something to do with that individual maybe? Maybe the individual's not showing her or his partner enough attention for them to actually look somewhere else.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'd want to look at um, trust issues for that person. What is their own belief systems about trust and about relationships, it's more of a exploratory conversation. So identifying trust issues, but also looking really deep, because coaching goes beyond the surface of what people are just saying. So, people's own limiting belief systems. Because a lot of people have a limiting belief of, I am not enough, or I am not worthy.
Mm,
Literally 99% of clients that I've had, ultimate belief system at some point in their life has been, I'm not enough, I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, etc. And it's working on that and building yourself.
But where would they where would that actually come from? Where would that thought process of theirs come from? Why would they be feeling that way? Is it because they've had some kind of trauma in the past? Is it something to do with their upbringing? Where does that actually come from in the first place?
It can come from a variety of places, mainly from childhood. For example, a parent lashes out to the child. The child's really excited and wants to show, mommy or daddy the painting, and the parent's busy or stressed or doing something else, and no, I can't look at that right now. Or you hear a lot of people talking negatively to their children.
Mm.
Or that's crap, or that's not good enough, or those sort of things, and that reinforces at a young tender age a child's belief system, and a system of not being good enough, for example. And with that belief system, they move through life. um, their environment, their schooling, etc., can also reinforce that. When they get into a relationship, if they get into a relationship believing they're not good enough, they're going to attract a relationship that's not actually going to fulfill their deepest needs, and make them feel not good enough, because that's what they're sending out to the world. That's the belief system sending out.
So you would unpick all this as
Yeah,
part of the coaching journey.
yeah. So the coaching journey can go very, very deep, and it's not uncommon for, when we identify these issues, for clients to burst out in tears, um, and feel these feelings, and that's actually a really good thing, because then they're exploring the depths of their feelings, and then only can you build up from that. Yeah.
Sure. Okay. I've got another question here that's also come through, and again, this person may or may not be tuned in right now, because I think I've just got to be mindful that it's quite a sensitive topic. But she said that sh- she's been sexually abused as a child, as she was growing up, and she was living in an extended family, and she was sexually abused by somebody, one of her uncles, and then later on she got married, but she can't seem to get into a physical relationship with her husband, and that's because of, like what you said, the trauma
Yeah.
that she had been through as a child. She also believes that members of her extended family knew about the sexual abuse, but it was swept under the carpet, because she lived in a village in India. She couldn't talk openly about what was happening. Her auntie, her mom, her brother, her sister, they kind of knew that something wasn't right, but they were living under the roof of this uncle, and she kind of thought it was normal. She thought it was normal. So when she was just very, very young, she was only 7, 8 years old, and she continued to be sexually abused, thinking it was normal. Later on in life, she kind of started to know it wasn't normal. And then now she is happily married. Her husband is very supportive, but she can't have a physical relationship with him. How can you help her?
Okay. Unfortunately, cases like this are very, very common, and a lot of people have been abused, and have experienced some form of abuse in the past, and have held on to this trauma. Um, I would say, as a first step to deal with the trauma, some kind of therapeutic intervention is really, really helpful. So some form of therapy, whether it be psychotherapy, counseling, uh, those sort of things. Rape crisis centers and those sort of things offer therapeutic involvement. So it's first dealing with the sort of starting the healing process, really, um, and then it's kind of building up their confidence. And so therapy is one thing, and coaching can
So
help.
that is that therapy through yourself, or that's something else?
That's therapy through, like, say, psychotherapist or
Right.
counselor, etc. Sort of the medical systems and route, because it's trauma, and you've got to heal from that trauma. And coaching can, I mean, there are NLP techniques that can help with trauma, as well as hypnotherapy, and so um, I can do some form of work with that client. But then it's about looking at their own confidence, their own level of intimacy, and exploring their beliefs about that, and feeling safe with their partner, with their husband, etc. But once they start healing from the past traumas, they may well be able to enjoy a good level of intimacy in their relationship. Uh,
Mm.
and let's face it, intimacy is an important aspect of a marriage or of a relationship.
Mm. No, absolutely, and I think from the sounds of it, she struggles, but her husband, her partner, is very,
Yeah,
very supportive, very understanding. But he kind of wants to help her now, saying, you need to overcome this. But she's kind of the mindset that actually I'm fine, as long as you're okay and you know what's happened to me. Why can't we just carry on? And what happens if she leaves it?
well, that trauma will just stay there. It'll fester. It could get worse over time. Yeah,
So it's important to address these issues.
it is important to look at past trauma and
Mm.
heal from them. Definitely.
Okay, okay. Another question that's also come through, Pradip, is, and again, this is from somebody who's been married for quite some time, and they saw the poster that we had put up on social media, and messaged me and said, "I find it very difficult to say I love you to my husband, not because I don't love him, but why should I have to keep justifying it by saying I love you?"
That's a very interesting question, actually. Um, Love, an expression of love, I believe, is quite important in a relationship. Now, there are lots of different ways of expressing love rather than just saying I love you. And I'm sure, she's expressed her love and her husband knows it, but it's actually nice to communicate openly and honestly and actually hear that you are loved and actually be told that. And for her, it may be liberating to say that once in a while. But
Mhm.
through coaching, I'd look at the sort of, again, the deeper issues as to why is she struggling to say that.
Mhm.
She feels it. Why is she struggling to express that? Uh, Quite often, when we don't express that love that we have for someone else, um, we're actually not expressing a love that we have for ourselves, or our cup of self-love is empty or half empty, etc. So it would be an interesting exercise, and there's an amazing author called Louise Hay who wrote the book "You Can Heal Your Life," and that is about self-love. So one of the exercises she talks about in that book is actually mirror work, and actually looking in the mirror, look into your eyes and say "I love you," and say that a number of times. A lot of people initially won't be able to say that or won't be able to believe that, and it'll feel so uncomfortable. But
Mhm.
expressing love starts with the self, and expressing
Mhm.
self-love or learning
So
to.
looking at yourself in the mirror, ladies, if you're listening, so looking at yourself, so you're going to stand in front of a mirror and say, "I love you." Look at yourself, and then try and see if you can say it to your partner. Is it
it,
that
it
easy?
will feel
I'm not making it sound really easy.
it will feel very, very uncomfortable because you have to
Mm.
look into the mirror. You've got to look deep into the depths of your eyes, into your soul, and say "I love you," and followed by your name. Yeah,
Sure.
not just once. Say it many times. Say it a dozen times.
Several times. Keep
Say
practicing.
it
Practicing.
first thing in the morning. Say it at night. Say it a number of times before. In that week, etc. Every day for a week, 2 weeks, whatever, until you actually believe it. Until it actually feels comfortable. But that's going
Okay,
to be
but it's
challenging.
one thing saying it to yourself, but then saying it to somebody else where she feels she has to say it just to please that person. She does actually go on to say in her email that it's not to say I don't love my husband. I do love my husband, but I shouldn't have to keep saying I love you to him because that's what he expects her to say. Um, and it's all to do with expectation as well, isn't it?
Yeah. You shouldn't have to say it just because somebody wants to hear it or expects it. But actually, people do need to, in a relationship, people need to know that they are loved. And I'd want to know, I'd want to look deeper into that relationship as to, you know, is she not expressing love? Does he have self love issues? Does he not feel, worthy enough to be loved? Those sort of things. So there's a number of factors there. It's not as straightforward, but it's about identifying the sort of key limiting beliefs for both of them about expression, communication. And people have different love languages. So his love language may be actually the need to hear it. Her love language may be affection or positive reinforcement or gifts or those sort of things. So
Wow.
again, it's really about knowing each other really well, knowing what makes the other person tick, knowing each other's love languages as well.
Love languages. Now that's a different language that you've just touched upon. What's love language?
Okay, there's love languages is like how someone expresses their love for that person, or and there are 5 love languages. So there's a good book, and it's available on Amazon, called The 5 Love Languages, by, I believe, a guy called Gary Chapman. And um, he goes through the different love languages. And if two people have different love languages, because most people don't actually have the same love language, uh, then that can make someone feel not heard or not loved or not valued or those sort of things. So it's about understanding which love language your partner speaks, um, and kind of giving them what they need in that respect, and vice versa. These sort of things a couple should do together, and it brings them closer. Likewise, as for people that are interested in building stronger relationships that might not necessarily want coaching as a first stage, there are books like that. And there's the classic Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, and the work of Gray, absolutely phenomenal in helping people understand how the other person thinks, what the other person needs, those sort of things.
So, what would an ideal relationship look like? Is there such a thing?
Each relationship is different. What's ideal to you is not ideal, might not be ideal to your partner or somebody else. So again, what is an ideal relationship? Everyone's got a different idea of what an ideal relationship is. Uh, so it's really kind of breaking down what does an ideal relationship look like to you? Yeah. And again, I've done this with clients in coaching, because helping people manifest their ideal partner and those sort of things. Well, actually, what does that mean? Let's define it. Let's kind of be really clear as to what you're looking for.
So you would ask them the question, saying, "Well, what is it you're looking?" And what if they both want two different things? Would you then say, "Oh, you're not compatible," or would you say, "No, this is what you want. This is what you want," and then you would use tools to kind of bring them together with this love language? Is that what you would, or just wave your magic wand?
Well, I wish I had a magic one, but unfortunately I don't. But yes, it is ultimately about getting the partners in a relationship to know each other, know what makes them tick. And, part of my sort of coaching program does that. I mean, I've got several stages within that, which I can go through if that's going to be helpful to you.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's more complex than a lot of people realize. People just, I don't know, have a societal, cultural view, a view that they've been brought up with, let's say, of what they should be looking for in a partner. Some people just look at, well, okay, this person's educated or they've got a good job. Traditionally, historically, if parents arranged marriage thing, that's the kind of thing they look at. But actually, is that the kind of thing that's going to make the partner feel happy, understood, loved, valued? Possibly. Doesn't matter how much the person earns if they don't spend time with the partner and make them feel loved and valued, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So for example, I mean, what I do with some of my clients is I've got like a 7 steps to lasting love, for example, and each session will go into depth about some of these things, and some of these things may take multiple sessions to really get to the depth of. But the first thing, step 1, is really knowing yourself. Yeah, knowing yourself. And loving yourself, because a lot of people miss that self-love. And I mentioned the sort of that cup of self-love. If you've got a cup of self-love, let's say, that's half empty or almost empty, and you expect the other person to love you, but you don't love yourself, that puts a lot of pressure on the relationship, and it puts a lot of pressure on your partner to constantly love you and make you feel good when you don't feel that yourself. So the first stage is working on yourself. Yeah? Because we attract from a level that we vibrate. Yeah. So if our vibration is very much of need, and I'm not good enough, but I want to be loved by somebody who's really good, etc. Well, actually, you're probably going to, vibrationally, in the law of attraction, you're probably going to attract somebody who's vibrating at the similar frequency as you, who also doesn't love themselves and expects you to love them. It might work for a little while because you get fulfilled, but then it's too much pressure on the couple, and it blows up. So as I said, stage one is really, really about knowing yourself, loving yourself, raising your vibrations, understanding yourself really, really well. Uh, Stage two is really about, you know, identifying what are you looking for. Yeah, being very, very clear about the kind of qualities, the traits, and it's about those little things, not just
When you
generally.
say traits, what do you mean by traits? Because we've all heard of, and I'm sure you have, and I'm sure you've heard it several times, brother. When you see your clients, I've certainly heard, friends or even people that I know, will say, "Oh, that person's a right psycho." You know, what does that actually mean? When somebody is identifying somebody because he has psychophyte traits, what is that? Oh, that person's a psycho. What is actually a psycho? And you just said that you'll end up attracting, individuals because of your vibrations. Does that mean you are a psycho yourself because you are attracting people like that?
Not necessarily on a deep level. It may mean that there's a void in your life. Now, often, if you look at the cycle of abuse, somebody who's grown up in a situation of domestic abuse, they've had a broken home, let's say their father's been too abusive, etc., and they've grown up like that, they fall into that cycle. So I've known so many cases through relationship coaching where that person's had that kind of an upbringing or background, but yet they've attracted a partner. They've not broken that cycle. They've attracted a partner who's quite controlling, who's quite abusive, who doesn't value them, and history repeats itself. Yeah. So it is about being clear about what you are looking for. So when I say traits and those sort of things, I mean, are we looking for somebody who's kind, compassionate, who's caring, who's understanding, who's a good listener, those sort of things. So it's about being very clear as to what's important to you in a partner, in a relationship. Yeah,
Okay.
a huge list of all the things that are really, really important to you. Yeah. And this third stage is actually look at that list, and it's about becoming your ideal partner, right? Because an important question here is, I ask my client, would you date you? Yeah. Would you date you? Okay. If the answer is no, if let's say they're moody, or they get angry, or they're irritable, or they haven't got any patience, or um, you know they don't communicate very well, or whatever. It's about, through this program, it's about understanding and knowing themselves really well. Yeah, and then what they're looking for. But then looking at, well, if they are in a place where actually they are filled up with self-love,
Yeah.
they value their own traits and how they are, and actually, you know what? Yeah, I'd be happy dating someone like me. Yeah, in terms of my personality, my traits, what I have to give in a relationship. But if they say no, I wouldn't date me. Well, that's something that we need to work on. Yeah, because if you can't date you, how can you expect somebody else to date you? Yeah.
So is it to do with vibrations there again then? Because if you don't, and it's going back to what you said earlier as well about you'll probably come across clients, come across people that have no self-love. So the first part of that would be probably to look at yourself in the mirror, start to practice saying I love you, start to love yourself, and maybe at that point maybe even identify things that are also irritable about you. Maybe you don't notice that. Maybe you don't notice that, I shout and I talk, I shout at people, I belittle people, I talk down on people.
Mm,
Would that all be part of that process?
absolutely. It's all about knowing yourself, and knowing yourself really, really well. You
But
know,
you have to be really ready for that, don't you? Because not many people could be, well, I'm actually perfect. There's nothing wrong with me. It's her or it's him. There's nothing wrong with me whatsoever. She's the one who does this, and she winds me up, so that's why I retaliate.
Yeah, I think why does she wind you up in the first place? Let's take a deep look at this. Yeah,
Mm,
no one's perfect. They say beauty's in the eyes of the beholder. Well, so is perfection. You know,
mm,
no one is absolutely perfect, but we're all on a journey. We're all evolving to be the better version of ourselves. Yeah.
mm,
And when you stop learning, when you stop evolving, then actually you're going backwards because we all need to improve in life because life throws a lot of challenges at you, and the more
of
you
course.
know yourself, the better you know yourself, your
Mm,
traits. When we're talking about relationships, I'm not just talking about an average relationship. I'm talking about a really deep, meaningful relationship at the next level. Yeah.
mm, mm.
So where there is a lot of a depth of understanding and love for each other. Yeah.
Sure.
Anyone can have a relationship with anyone. It's not that doesn't mean that they're going to be happy and fulfilled. In fact, there are more relationships where people are not fully happy and fulfilled than there
Mm,
are relationships that are really deep, meaningful, and where people experience that oneness. I'm talking about a true soulmate, twin flame relationship, not just companionship or friendship or yeah, they get on my nerves, but I'll tolerate it, that kind of stuff, right?
yeah. But that whole point where you said, oh, they get on my nerves, I'll tolerate it. But can people then tolerate it for years and years? Maybe, I mean, some people have done, and they do, but
Yeah,
times are changing now as well, aren't they?
yeah, absolutely. Some people have done, some people do, and some people will, and some people think that's normal. Yeah,
Mm, mm,
to them that is normal, but actually they're missing out on a huge depth of love and caring and compassion and those sort of things. If arguing and not understanding is normal, then and that's
yeah,
their normal. And
yeah,
if both
no,
are happy with that, who are we to judge anyone? Uh,
mm,
it's about looking at individuals' own beliefs and what is it that you want. Yeah, that's a
sure.
relationship to somebody else, but
Mm,
normal relationship to somebody that wants something deeper, uh,
mm.
real connection is that oneness that we kind of
But
spoke about.
people have got to really want to change. So when they come to see you, they've got to be ready to make those changes. Like you said, you're there to set goals. So if they come to see you saying, "Oh, I'm stressed out. I'm in an awful relationship," or I know that we're talking about life coaching here as well. It could be I'm in an awful job. I absolutely hate it, but they don't know how to take that next step forward. And it's difficult, isn't it? Because if they're not willing to change, then are you able to change them?
No one can change anyone without anyone wanting to be changed. Yeah.
Mm,
So someone's got to want to change, but actually someone's got to want to look at themselves. There are people out there. There's two types of people out there. There's types of people that will take ownership and responsibility for things that will happen to them. Yeah.
mm,
Or there's types of people that will blame everybody else and everything else under the sun, but won't take relationship. When you talked about that job. Actually, I'm in such a crap job. I hate this job. Whatever. Well, actually, what are you doing about it? Yeah.
yeah.
You have a choice. You can do
Mm,
something about it. Is there anything you can do in that job that will improve your experiences of that job to make it better for you? Or you then look for another job. Like
sure.
people point their finger at the partner, and I love one of these old wise sayings that when you point a finger, there are three fingers pointing right back at you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm,
So
yeah.
it's
That's
about
true.
looking at yourself, and it's about really knowing and understanding yourself.
Yeah.
And coaching might not be for everyone. It can help people on the surface to achieve their goals, or if you're willing to put the work in and
Mm,
commitment to really look at yourself, really explore yourself, then you can look at what drives you. You can look at your personality. You can look at your value systems, your beliefs. And that's part of the next stage of my, next few stages of my kind of 7-stage program.
mhm,
So I'll carry on talking about that. So
yeah.
because it's relevant to what we've spoken about.
Sure.
So, sort of step 4 is really about expressing your truth. Yeah. Being completely open, honest, um, authenticity, again, very, very important, and communication. A lot of couples struggle because they don't communicate openly and honestly with each other. They don't
Mm,
fully express themselves. They don't fully talk. Life is difficult at times. People are in the rat race. They're in jobs. They're living stressful lives, busy lives. They're raising children, whatever, and often don't have the time to really talk at a real level of depth.
Mm.
But that's what it needs. It needs real, open, honest communication and trusting communication. And again,
Yeah.
it's not about blaming in any way, but it's about
Mm.
expression. But expressing in an empowering way and expressing in a way where you're taking ownership. Yeah.
Sure.
So, one partner could say to the other, well, you made me feel like this. You did this. I didn't like it. You made me feel like that. Right? It's putting the blame on them. What's going to happen? The other person's going to get defensive straight away.
Yeah.
Are they going to listen? Are they going to change that behavior?
Mm.
No,
Mm.
they're
Yeah.
getting defensive. So they'll kind of counteract. Well, no, you did this, that, and then it just spirals out of control and into an argument, and
Mm.
and that's what we don't want.
No.
So communication in a way where actually and taking ownership for it. Well, actually, this happened, but actually it made me feel like this. So, how do we work through that? Do you think this is acceptable if we change our approach and do it this way?
Mm. Mm.
And an empowering conversation like that can often make those lasting changes. So,
Sure.
it's about expressing your truth, being true to yourself and true to
And
what.
being true to yourself. I've just had another message that's come through on WhatsApp. Now, we have actually a few months ago we've had a lesbian couple from the Asian community both on this program as well. I've just had another message come through from an individual who also identifies themselves as being gay, and she's saying that, but I can't tell anybody. So she's what she's actually put here is, I can't share this secret with anybody else that I am gay. My family will not accept me, but I accept myself as being gay. So what's next?
Okay. Well, that's good. The first thing is she accepts herself, right?
Yeah,
She's
yeah,
living truth.
that's what she said here. Yeah,
Eventually, you know, how comfortable is it for her to stay hidden, stay in the closet, and not live her truth, and not express her truth, and express who she is? You know,
mm,
um, and again, coaching can help empower that person to step into their own truth and express themselves. Ultimately, I don't know her circumstances, I don't know her family, but I had a similar case where I was coaching a gay man, and his father was very kind of anti, he was very traditional, etc. Uh,
mm,
but ultimately, it's building on that, and your family do love you, and your family will ultimately express, understand who you are and accept who you are, even if it takes a long, long time. Yeah,
mm,
but I think it's always, and I don't know the person's situation, and it could be very, very difficult. And there's obviously a number of reasons why they don't want to say, oh, come out to their parents
yeah,
and community and the rest of society. But
mm,
ultimately, at some point, I think they will, because
mm,
they want to live their truth, and expressing their truth will liberate them. They will
sure.
find a sense of
Yeah,
freedom.
and they'll feel a lot more happier, I guess, rather than living this double life
Yeah,
that you often hear, about, gay couples
mm,
um, doing, so yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Because
absolutely.
obviously, if the family don't know, then they'll be pressurizing her to get married.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
well, that's exactly what's happening. I think that she's, and she goes on dates, you know, with men when she's actually a lesbian herself. She's in a relationship with another woman, and has been for the last 4 years. So, you know, but a family will never accept it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's very difficult circumstance, and she is eventually, I think, will express her truth at some point, so then she can live the life that she actually wants to live. She's in a relationship, she'd want to be with that person openly.
Mm, mm,
Right now she's wasting her time and the time of the people that she's dating, and her parents are getting the hopes up that she will get married, etc.
yeah.
So there's a lot of internal work to do on this, and belief systems and those sort of things. It's
But
about
again, that's not down to what you initially said, is it? Because that's something she's gay people, they are born that way. And so it's nothing to do with their childhood traumas, like how we spoke about children. You gave the example of a child who may say, "Mom, Dad, look at my painting."
Yeah,
This
no,
is something.
nothing to do with that. But when I say internal work, obviously it's about stepping into their truth and feeling empowered to live and express their truth.
Their own truth. Yeah.
Their truth, and it's okay, So, unfortunately, a lot of people live life trying to please others around them, and they're not living their truth. And
Yeah.
that hurts them.
Sure. Yeah. No, absolutely.
So,
You were going through the 7 stages. I think we got to number 5. Is that right?
yeah, so 4 was express your truth. So 5 is about checking your own values and your own BS. Now, by BS, I mean belief systems. Yeah,
I was
because
going to say something else there, but I won't. Yeah.
so we tend to judge others in relationships by our own value systems.
Mm.
What are our values? And then we judge someone else. So, for example, typical issue that a lot of people face. Let's say a vegetarian or a vegan meets a meat eater. They're judging them by their value systems. Being a vegan or a vegetarian is very important to you. But your partner is a meat eater, okay, and they don't want to give up those sort of things. So you're actually judging that person by your own set of values. Or that's one example. There can be hundreds of examples in sort of real day-to-day relationships. But it's actually looking at your own value systems, what's important to you, and understanding your partner's value systems, what is important to them, what drives them, because values fundamentally, make you who you are and drive you. You cannot judge somebody else by your value systems if you want that relationship to work.
Yeah.
You need to understand what their value systems are, because people will make decisions on life based on their value systems. And our belief systems, we evolve with them through our childhood, through being parented, through our culture, through society's norms, through our schooling, through life generally. Again, it's really about knowing what our belief systems, our value systems are, and what our
And also, I guess, about how flexible an individual is willing to be, because if someone is a real strict vegan or vegetarian, like you said, and meet the ideal partner, whatever that may be, but treats them really well, but eats meat, would they then compromise to say, "I'll accept this person"?
So again, it's looking at those values. How important are they to you? Yeah, and what would you compromise on? But again, ultimately, it's about that judgment. Don't judge somebody else based on your own value systems, because our belief systems, our value systems, is what we use to judge others. But actually, when you understand what that other person's value and judgments are, then you may think, yeah, okay, that's completely understandable. I can work with that, or here's a compromise. Obviously, there are life is full of compromises, and so are relationships. In any relationship, both parties will have a level of compromise. But if they think that's gone too far and it actually becomes sacrifice, then that's not good, because sacrifice will cause resentment.
And I have, and I know we've spoken about this before, because I've referred a few clients over to you, in the past, those that are wanting to be together, to get married, and they're entering into an interfaith marriage, and they can be from 2 totally different backgrounds, but actually the bond and the love is there, and you can see it. When you meet couples and they're in love, the chemistry is there, you can see it. But the underlying issue could well be that they're both from 2 different backgrounds, religious backgrounds. So at that point, you would start doing some work with them, I guess. And I know, like I said, you've actually seen a couple of my clients who are entering into an interfaith marriage, and you've done some really amazing work with them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know a couple quite well who are in interfaith marriage, and all the struggles that they've gone through, and not telling parents, and again those sort of things, because let's say a Gujarati Hindu girl um, meets a black Muslim male who's 15 years older than her. Parents are not going to accept that, those sort of things. So again, it is about helping them to understand, and be true to themselves, and that work can take some time. Uh,
Mm.
Ultimately, that I've seen those successes in a friend that I know. The family has been very, very happy and love him to bits and all those sort of things, and have fully accepted that. Yeah. Um, but
But it
I
takes a lot of work, doesn't it? I mean, you've got to first embrace another culture, maybe a
yeah,
culture that you haven't yourself been brought up with. So you may not know the ins and outs of their religious beliefs, their cultural beliefs, you know, and then you're entering into a relationship with that person in hope to continue living with that person for the rest of your life. And you've got to unpick all these things that you may not actually know anything about.
absolutely. But when you love someone really deeply, you will want to know everything about them, want to know their background, their likes, their dislikes, their upbringing, their culture. If it is a different culture, you want to know their culture, because ultimately, what is it that makes them tick? What makes them who they are? You're in love with that person for who they are.
Mm,
You want
mm,
to understand who they are. And if part of their culture, part of their upbringing, their background has made them who they are, then you want to know that, understand that, embrace that.
mm. No, absolutely. And I know we just spoke then about interfaith marriages. We have intercaste marriages. We have people even living. They enter into a relationship maybe online with somebody because that's kind of what lots of people have been doing during lockdown because they've been meeting people, they've been entering into a relationship maybe with people right across the borders across the oceans, and then they don't really know what to do. And I've had somebody contact me who and I will pass on your details to them, but they've got really quite serious about each other and want to be with each other. But what's next? The groom, I say groom, the gentleman, he lives in the States, and she lives in Scotland, but they want to be together. You know.
I've known of those relationships where people are living on the opposite ends of the world. They meet online or other dating websites. They talk. Technology is great. They can talk. They can video call. They can see each other. I've known couples that have spent hours and hours on end every day on video call, getting
Yeah.
to know each other, and then they end up falling in love with each other, wanting to be with each other. Well, yeah, they have to meet at some
Yeah.
point. When the lockdown's over, they need to meet. They need to
Of
have a
course.
proper
Yeah.
physical date and get to know each
Yeah.
other. Getting to know each other online is one thing, but actually, you need to be in the presence of that person and know how they react to
Mhm.
things. Um, and
Oh
yeah,
yeah, absolutely. Because you want to know how they're going to react in certain situations. You're absolutely right. Brother, we've got a few questions that are there's comments, and I've just been totally mesmerized by your 7 steps. Have
do you
you?
want me to finish off? There's 2 steps left. Do you want me to sort of
Yeah,
finish?
yeah, you can do, and then you can go to
Yeah.
the messages that have come up. No, that's fine.
And sort of in response to your interracial stuff and couples that I know personally and couples that I've coached, you know,
Mhm.
I know that true love and soulmates have no boundaries, whether it be location, whether it be religion, whether it be um, caste, community, background, color, whatever. Um, I've seen lots of interfaith soulmate relationships as well.
Yeah. No,
Okay,
absolutely.
so step 6. Now, unfortunately, when people are in a long-term relationship or a marriage, they actually make the mistake of taking each other for granted. They're comfortable with each other. They know each other. They stop making an effort. So
Mm.
step 6 is keep dating to keep the love alive. Yeah.
So they become totally complacent, and you hear that, don't you? But then you do see like older people that are so romantically in love and probably been married for like 30, 40 years, and still the chemistry's there.
Yeah, but with those couples, they're actually there's a small act of kindness. They're doing something for each other all the time. They're considering each other all the time,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
and it's that ideal view of the old couple sitting on a park bench holding hands or whatever.
Mm,
And if some of your younger viewers who are actually embarking on the journey of a marriage, etc., want to get there, it's just best advice is do not take each other for granted. Don't stop making an effort. You have to keep dating your partner, your husband,
mm,
your etc. Have that date night. How
mm,
those steps we talked about communication, those sort of things, but actually, you know, little acts of kindness towards each other, show appreciation for each other. Um, do not take each other for granted, because that's when things can get sour pretty quickly. There's lots of ways of showing love. Um,
mm.
spend time doing nice things together.
Of course. And yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, people do become complacent after being together for such a long time. Um, and, you know, initially during the dating period, they, they may be, you may be, I don't know, the boyfriend may get her flowers or whatever. And then all of a sudden that stops, 5 years down the line. And we've already had people saying, I don't feel like saying I don't feel like saying the words "I love you" to him, or and it could well be because of them,
Yeah.
being complacent to one another. So
I mean,
yeah,
people say, "Oh, yes, Valentine's Day, it's got to be a special day, and let's make a grand romantic gesture on Valentine's Day." Well, actually, I believe every day should be a Valentine's Day. Not
mm,
one day should go by where your partner doesn't know that you love them, and vice
mm,
versa. And
yeah,
it's about making
yeah,
grand gestures every day. It's the little things that matter. But
sure, yeah,
it's people will forget what you do, but they will
mm,
never forget how you make them feel.
of
Yeah.
course, yeah,
And
no,
there's
absolutely.
always room in a relationship to make that person feel loved every day.
No, you're right.
And
Yeah.
the
And the
seventh,
final point.
sorry,
Oh, is that a final? Was that the final point?
one more.
Okay.
Point seven, and this is probably the most important from my perspective,
Mhm.
and through seeing so many people go through this, and it's not one step. It's actually throughout coaching. It's something that people need to focus on throughout their journey in life. It's moving from a place of fear to a
Mm,
place of love. Okay, um, because so many people make such important decisions in life from a place of fear. I've
mm,
had people say to me, I'm getting older now and I want to get married, I want to have children, and that's fine, nothing wrong with that, that's completely normal. But what it isn't is the pressure they feel. Yeah.
mm.
Oh, everyone my age has had kids, and what's wrong with me, and all those sort of things. And then they will make that decision about marriage, about love, yeah, ultimately about true love, from a place
Mm.
of fear. And when they make a decision from a place of fear, their whole vibration is different, and they usually attract the wrong person. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
it is, and society and lots of things make us fearful. Yeah. Uh,
Mm.
but ultimately, it's focusing on love
Yeah.
and moving from a place of fear to love. It may be impossible to completely eradicate fear from everybody's hearts.
Mm.
Um, but it's being mindful, it's being aware of that, and it's making sure that your most important decisions don't come from a place of fear, but
Oh,
actually.
yeah, yeah. And lots of people do, don't they? I mean, people nowadays, you get people getting married later on in their lives because they're busy with their careers, or just because they haven't found that right person, and again, I guess that's where you, as a life coach, can probably help those individuals. I am conscious of the time, but so I'm going to just move on to some of the comments that have been coming up.
Yeah.
We have Nirmala Ben saying, "Great to see you both." Dharmesh is saying hello. We have Bhavna saying lovely to see you, Priti and Pradip. And we've got Vimal joining us as well saying hello. Bhavna has also said you can build trust to move forward and start just generally talking to the male gender. Work hard towards building confidence, etc. You can again build courage and confidence to start talking to non-work related men than just that one man who you are just trying to be friendly or making new friends with. I don't want a relationship, and that's not the case. She also goes on to saying, would you say that that person has not got over their own issues but portrays they have moved on? That's come from Bhavna. Oh, I know there's more messages. And she's also agreeing with you about Louise Hayes. Louise Hay saying, amazing lady, looking into your own eyes in the mirror and saying these words in terms of, I love you, which I think is brilliant. But Nisha saying, kindness, love, and respect for each other is key to any relationships. Couples work on each other for many years and then eventually split up. Jayshree Maisuri joining us as well, saying, if I understood correctly, try to become the person that you want the opposite person to be towards you. That's the law of attraction. What you put out is what you will get back, is what Jayshree is saying. And she's just asking if she's right in understanding that message.
Be the person you want to date.
Be the person you want to date. Nisha's still saying, if you don't acknowledge they have a problem, if people don't acknowledge they have a problem, and if they are not willing to change, I'm sure their problems will probably become even worse. Surely a relationship is a two-way process. And before a person needs to, they need to acknowledge that there is problems there, I guess. So that is very important. We have someone asking if you are married. Well, who are you asking, me or Pradip? Because if there's any proposals, you know where the wedding planner is. And we have also a celebrant joining us. We have Sonal Dove joining us, who actually is wonderful in terms of the other work that she does, Pradip. Because Sonal Ben does some great work around communication with young people. She runs amazing workshops in and around London, and I know she's kind of doing these global workshops as well. She's absolutely wonderful. She's been on the show as well, and she's actually saying communication is key to any successful relationships. And she's one, and it's been wonderful talking to her because she's been really inspirational on the show. And I hope she doesn't mind me saying this because she openly said it on the show here that I think Sonal Ben's in her mid-40s. She's married to somebody who's half English, half Indian, I think, and who's about 14 years younger than her. And, she initially had, the pressure of, career-minded women trying to sort of career out, find the right man. He happened to be from, like someone from a mixed race background himself. And, she's so happy. And again, she's saying communication is successful to any relationship at all levels, and she's obviously a communications specialist in terms of what she does as well. So that's just some of the messages, and we've got a few minutes left. I don't know if you want to comment on any of them.
I completely agree. Communication is absolutely key to a successful relationship. And understanding each other and those sort of things. Now, dating has changed a lot. Those that are in their sort of 30s and 40s will know of speed dating and those sort of things, and actually meeting people, whereas those that are in their 20s, most of their dating is online, and a lot of their communication is online. And some people who aren't used to communicating openly may struggle with communication methods other than being able to express themselves online.
Yeah. And also, I guess it goes back to that building that self-confidence, because some people may not have the confidence to be able to communicate effectively. Absolutely. And nobody is born with confidence. It's something that is practiced over time, isn't it?
Now, one of your viewers said a comment about being more confident in talking to people in the non-work setting and those sort of things. Within coaching, there are exercises that we can do about building your confidence up, and not just the confidence, but the courage. Courage is a really important part of that confidence. So, for example, if she wants to talk to men outside of the work setting, set a goal. In the next week, she will talk to 5 random strangers who she doesn't know, whether it be at the gym or on the tube or on the bus, wherever.
At the moment, it's just supermarkets, I'm afraid. Go to your local.
Just randomly talk to somebody and strike up a conversation, not with a romantic interest, but this builds their confidence and builds their courage about actually communicating with the opposite sex in just a random situation, and sort of demonstrate your personality.
There you go, Sonal. Then I wonder if she would agree on that. But I mean, like I said, I would like you both to speak at some stage, because both absolutely wonderful people. Like I said, Sonal runs some amazing workshops for both young children, so starting from very young people, and for adults as well, and parents equally she does that as well. And she too has written a book recently, and it's one of the bestsellers on Amazon as well. So I think both of you two should at some point try and exchange details, because I think you could both really bounce off each other and do some wonderful things maybe together. Pradip, it's been a pleasure having you. I think I could have been speaking to you all day, if we had more time. It really has been great talking to you, because I think I've had, lots of couples feeling the pressure. We've all felt the pressure during lockdown, and lots of couples that have been wanting to get on with their lives have not managed to do so because of the lockdown. And I know I've spoken to you about a few couples and referred them over to you in terms of coaching them. We've had couples feeling the pressure from their families that they can't live together because they've not had the wedding ceremony as yet, but they just want to move on. All of a sudden the wedding ceremony has become not as important as it was before. And now that we know that post the 21st of June restrictions will be removed, maybe weddings will start taking place. But for these people, again, I think there's a lot of anxiety going on as well. And can life coaches help with that?
Absolutely. I mean, there is light at the end of the tunnel. Lockdown will hopefully end at some point soon, and they will be able to have the wedding of their dreams thanks to someone like you. Wedding is one day. It's a very, very important day of their lives, but actually their marriage, their life together, their relationship together is the most important thing. So yeah, absolutely. I think people shouldn't be complacent and should want to work with each other, on that relationship on a long-term basis. That you've got to work at it, and that doesn't stop. But it should be fun. It shouldn't be hard work, as it were.
Of course.
A life of love together is going to be amazing. So, Priti, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you very much. And for those people that want any more information about some of your services, how can they contact you, Pradip?
Okay, they can email me at info@myevolution.org.uk. They can have a look at my website, which is myevolution.org.uk, and contact me through there.
Okay, brilliant. And on a final note, Sonal is just saying it makes it easier when you are confident in who you are, how you look, and how you sound. And Bhavna is just saying thank you for the talking randomly is fine. It's talking to a maybe. That is, I guess, what's kind of stopping her. But so she's the one who asked the question about she's okay to talk to men in an office environment.
Encourage randomly, then when it comes to the maybe, you'll have that confidence and courage to call upon.
Yeah. Well, you know who to call if you would like any more information. Thank you so much, Pradip. Hopefully we shall see you again sometime soon. All the very best, and thank you everyone that's been joining us live on the Let's Chat to Priti Raichura show. We'll be back again next week with another topic. But from me and Pradip, a very good afternoon to all of you. Goodbye. Thank you, Pradip.